My name is Alina. I was born in a small town where people still believe that love is a secret thing, something you hide inside your heart. I never thought I would fall in love one day. I was a simple girl who wanted peace, a good life, and maybe a small job to help my family. My father was a teacher, my mother stayed home, and we lived in an old but warm house near the river. Life was quiet until I met him. His name was Adil. He came to our town for work. He was not from here. He spoke softly, always smiled when he saw someone, and had kind eyes. I first saw him at the bookstore near the main road. I loved books, and I used to visit that shop almost every week. One evening, while it was raining outside, he came in to buy a book about art. I was standing near the counter, holding a book about dreams. He smiled and asked, "Do you like reading stories?" I said yes, a little shy. He said, "Then maybe you'll tell me which one I should buy." That small sentence became the start of my new life. After that day, we met again and again, sometimes at the bookstore, sometimes near the river. Slowly, we became friends. He told me about his life in the city, his dreams, and how he wanted to build a small art school for children. I told him about my family and how I wanted to become a teacher one day. He listened to every word as if nothing else in the world mattered. His attention made me feel special. It was something new, something beautiful. Months passed, and our friendship became something deeper. I didn't say it, and he didn't either, but we both knew it was love. I could feel it in his eyes every time he looked at me. I remember one evening when the sunset was turning everything golden. We were sitting by the river, and he said softly, "Alina, one day, I want to marry you." My heart stopped for a moment. I didn't know what to say. I looked at him and smiled. But inside, I felt fear. I knew my family would never allow it. We were from different backgrounds, and in our town, such things were not easy. Still, I wanted to believe him. He said, "Maybe it will take time, but I will come to your house one day and ask your father for your hand." His words sounded like a promise written in the air. For weeks after that, I lived inside that promise. Everything felt brighter. The mornings looked more beautiful, the nights felt warmer. Love made everything better. But life does not always listen to your heart. One afternoon, my mother called me to the kitchen. She said, "Your uncle has found a good proposal for you." I froze. I tried to say something, but no words came out. My mother smiled softly. "He is a teacher, from a good family. Your father will meet them this Sunday." My heart broke quietly inside me. That night I cried alone. I wanted to tell my mother about a deal, but I was scared. I didn't want to hurt my family. I didn't know what to do. The next day, I met Adil and told him everything. His face changed. He looked sad but calm. He said, "Don't worry, Alina. I will talk to my parents. I will come soon." His voice was full of hope. I wanted to believe him, and I did. For the first time, I felt both love and fear living together in my heart. Days passed. I waited for him, but he didn't come. I sent him a message, but there was no reply. I told myself maybe he was busy, maybe he needed time. I still went to the bookstore, hoping to see him again. But he never came. 1 week later, my father announced that my engagement was fixed. The man's family would come next month. I smiled in front of everyone, but my heart was crying inside. A week before the engagement, I finally received a letter. It was from Adil. The letter was short but full of feeling. He wrote, "Alina, I tried. My family doesn't agree. They say our worlds are too different. I don't want to hurt you, but I also don't want to lie. Please forgive me. I will always remember you as the one I truly loved." I read the letter again and again until my tears made the ink blur. I didn't blame him. I knew he was a good man, but life can be cruel. My engagement happened. People smiled, music played, and my parents were happy. I tried to look happy too. The man I was engaged to, Imran, was kind and gentle. He spoke to me politely, but I couldn't feel anything. My heart was still waiting for someone else. I knew it was wrong, but love does not listen to rules. Months went by. I got married and moved to another city. Life started again. I became a teacher like I always wanted. My husband was good to me, and slowly, I started to accept my new life. But sometimes, when I stood near the window and saw the rain falling, I remembered that first day in the bookstore. I remembered his smile, his soft voice, and his promise, "One day, I want to marry you." The memory hurt, but it also gave me strength. It reminded me that love, even when it doesn't end in marriage, still changes your heart forever. Years passed. I had 2 children, a boy and a girl. They became the reason I smiled every day. My husband and I built a small school for poor children. Life became full again. But still, sometimes when I saw someone reading a book or standing by the river, I thought of him. I wondered if he ever married. I wondered if he still remembered me. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. But one thing I knew for sure, he was the one lover who truly hoped to marry me. One evening, many years later, I went back to my hometown for a family wedding. Everything looked smaller than before. The streets, the houses, even the bookstore. Out of habit, I went inside. The old man who owned it was still there. He looked at me and smiled. "It's been so long, Alina," he said. "Do you still read the same books?" I laughed softly and said, "Sometimes." Then I asked, "Do you remember Adil? The one who used to come here?" The old man nodded slowly. "Yes, I remember. He was a nice boy. He left for another city years ago. But he used to ask about you whenever he came." My eyes filled with tears again. I smiled and said, "Thank you." I bought a small book that day, the same one I was holding the first time I met him, the book about dreams. That night, as I sat by the window in my old room, I opened the book. Inside, I found a note, an old paper with faded handwriting. It said, "Never stop dreaming, Alina. Love makes life beautiful." I held the paper close to my heart. Maybe he had left it there long ago, hoping I would find it one day. I looked at the sky and whispered, "Thank you, Adil." I felt peace, a kind of peace that comes only when you forgive the past and accept that love sometimes means letting go. The next morning, my daughter saw the book in my hands. She asked, "Mama, what are you reading?" I smiled and said, "A story about a dreamer." She smiled back and said, "Tell me the story someday." I hugged her and whispered, "I will, when you're older." Because some stories are not just stories, they are pieces of our hearts. As time went on, I learned that real love is not always about being together. Sometimes it's about wishing happiness for the one you love, even if it's not with you. Adil taught me that. He taught me how to feel, how to hope, and how to let go with grace. He was my first love, and maybe my last. But life goes on, and hearts learn to live again. Years later, I heard from an old friend that Adil had moved to another country. He became a teacher, just like me. He never married. For a long moment, I couldn't speak. I didn't know if it made me happy or sad. I just sat quietly, feeling that same old warmth inside. Maybe he had kept his promise in a different way, maybe he had married his dreams, the same dreams we once shared. When I look back now, I don't feel pain anymore. I feel thankful. Thankful that I met someone who showed me what love really is. The one lover who hoped to marry me, he gave me a story that will live in my heart forever. Sometimes, when my students ask me, "Miss, do you believe in love?" I smile and say, "Yes, I do. Because once in my life, I saw love in its purest form." And then I tell them, love is not about the wedding, the photos, or the promises. It is about two hearts meeting and changing each other, even if they never stay together. My students always look surprised, but I just smile. Because they don't know that I'm not teaching them from books, I'm teaching them from my heart. Now I am older, my hair has turned a little gray, and my children have grown up. But sometimes, when it rains, I still walk outside and feel the drops on my face. I close my eyes, and in that soft rain, I see him again, the boy in the bookstore, smiling at me, asking, "Do you like stories?" And in that small moment, I am young again. I am Alina, the girl who loved, the girl who waited, and the girl who learned that true love never really ends.